Hello. Hi. I hope you can hear me. Just let me know if you can hear me or not for those that are coming in, or when you come in, let me know if you can hear me. Welcome, a huge welcome to day one of the 5 Days to Healthier Kids Challenge. So I am just going to be looking down because that's why I'm going to check that you can hear me, and I can check who's commenting and who's asking me questions. So somebody has liked me. Could you tell me if you can hear me okay? Could you just give me a comment, give me a hello, say, yes, I can hear you. Otherwise, I'll rip these headphones out and I'll just speak to the laptop, via the laptop. I'll just wait till I can get some confirmation that you can hear me okay. And then, then we'll dive into it. Yes, you can hear me. Thank you, Jessica. Welcome. It's so great to have you here. I'm super excited. I haven't done one of these for months, so I'm really, really happy to have, I think we've got about 400, close to 415 beautiful parents in our private Facebook group who are going to share the week together. It's going to be a lot of fun, very motivating, very inspiring, and as helpful as I can be for you. I want to make it doable, so I'm going to try and wrap up each one. I'm going to aim for half an hour so that we can all, get to the couch at some point. So I want to give you good quality, concise information so that, you get lots out of it. You can get questions answered. And we can all get a lot out of this challenge, or you can get a lot out of this challenge. So a huge welcome to you. My name is Karina Savage, Paediatric Dietitian and founder of Nourishing Kids, where I get to help busy parents take the stress out of feeding their children. Give me a bit of an idea. Those that are on the call, where are you from? Tell me where you're from, and I'll look down because then I can see where you're all from. Let me look at your comments here. Here we go. Thank you. Actually, let me turn my volume down so that I don't hear myself on repeat. We've got Steve, got Chris, Darla, Megan, Beck, Jessica. So where are you dialing in from? Are you dialing in from, I'm assuming, Australia? What state are you dialing in from? But you could be dialing in from overseas. Well, you gave me a mouthful there, Steve. Jerem Bombera. Beautiful. I'm going to have to look up where that is. Western Australia. I'm sitting in Sydney as we speak. It's been a warm day today, actually. Bradbury, New South Wales. Boyup Brook. Northern Beaches, Sydney. Beautiful. Adelaide. That's where I come from, Chris. Beautiful. Well, welcome. Huge welcome. It's great to have you. I'm sure that as others join, they might add to the, Yepon back. Beautiful. Sorry, Yepoon. Sorry if I've spelt your place of residence incorrectly, but yes, I'll do my best to work out where they all are. It's good to learn where new places are. Beautiful. Horsham. Okay. Victoria, Gippsland. Excellent. Welcome. So just some housekeeping before we dive into it. Have a pen and notebook with you so that you can take notes as you go, because we're going to be covering lots of useful information. Other people might ask questions too, and you might be like, oh, that's a great question. And you'll be able to make notes, not only from the topic that we are covering for the day, but also I'll often go off on little tangents and give you more advice on different things. We're going to be going live inside the group at 8 p.m. every day, Sydney time. And these calls are going to be recorded. They are going to be in the Facebook group, so you can watch them on replay if you want to watch the replay, if you want to tell your friends to join so they can watch the replay. And the challenges you can do up until this Sunday night. I'll talk a bit more about them later. But each day you're going to get a challenge. It's going to be a doable challenge just so that you can experience small wins, get some motivation back or increase your motivation. And yes, if you post those challenges in each day, by the end of the week, you'll go in the running to win some amazing prizes. So those amazing prizes, we have a $150 Le Puree voucher that you can use on the baby or toddler hamper. They've got a lot of fantastic food, so you can basically pick whichever you want. $100 voucher from Baby by Beach, which does beautiful silicone dinnerware sets, not only for babies, but you could use them for toddlers, even children. They've got really beautiful compartments that you can use for serving up food. I'm giving away my own Healthy Kids recipe ebooks, which are loaded with great recipes that I've created myself for my family, really designing them myself to increase my own daughter, especially her intake of iron and zinc, because she's struggled with me over the years, and also fiber. So those recipes are specifically created by a dietitian, but also a mum who wanted to improve her child's nutrition. So I'll be giving away some of my recipe books. Otherwise, you can also purchase them this week at a 50% discounted price. And the final, last but not least, prize for the week, worth $490, is an annual free subscription to Nourishing Kids, which is my membership, where you get access to all of my programs and information, and also be a part of our live calls and our private chat groups, so be supported by me along the way for the year. So they are the prizes up for grabs if you participate in the challenge and you do post basically a task each day. But as I said, you don't have to do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you catch up, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you've got until the end of Sunday to do it all, so that it caters for those people that have a really busy work week and can't catch up until the weekend. So I want as many people to get as much value out of this free event as possible. Next Monday, we will be going through the grand finale, which is this time next Monday. So we've got a bonus one on Monday, the 27th of October at 8 p.m, where I'll be announcing the winners and sharing a little bit more helpful information. So if you have any difficulties with anything over this week, please email hello@nourishwithkarina.com. We'll sort it out for you. And just make sure you get the most out of this week. So I am a paediatric dietitian. I've been working now this is my 25th year. I worked for the first 12 years in a children's hospital as the lead dietitian there, solving all sorts of weird and wonderful paediatric conditions and really specializing in gut issues. I love gut issues. Saw tons of fussy eaters, saw lots of babies with iron deficiency, kids with iron deficiency. I mean, you name it, over 12 years I saw it. So that's my background. And then since having my own children, I've moved into private practice and then creating. So I do still do one-on-one consultations online, mostly around Australia, some offshore. And then I've created my Nourishing Kids membership to be a really supportive community environment to help parents through program and support feed their kids and just be an ongoing source of information. You'll see me on Channel 7, Sunrise. Sorry, we've got our little team mascot in the background. He's just gone back downstairs. In fact, I'll be on Channel 7 tomorrow morning at 8:50. We've got a segment happening there. I think I've clocked, it's a good 100 now, which I love. I love presenting and helping. It's basically an open consultation to Australia. So you might have seen me there. I've got my own podcast too, the Easy Feed. So if you check out, if you go to Spotify or Apple and just type in the Easy Feed, you'll see my podcast there, and you'll be able to start listening. And sometimes I do other podcasts as well. So I often am on like Dr. Justin Coulson. He's a really good child psychologist, and do different podcasts episodes there. So why am I doing this? So why am I doing this challenge? I'm doing this challenge because I get how hard it is to feed kids. I have two children of my own. They are growing up. One's 11 and one's 13 now. But I have certainly had the journey of, feeding challenges, especially when my kids were younger, super challenging. And when you go through and you become a dietitian, you learn, the textbook stuff. And a lot of the stuff is what I see still online being told to people. But when I had my own fussy eater, everything that I learned at uni didn't necessarily work or help me. So I had to really go back to the drawing board and create a whole brand new approach to feeding. And, after doing this for 25 years and experiencing, motherhood, I feel like I'm in a really good place now to help other parents who feel stuck and overwhelmed with feeding, because it's not only the fussy eaters, it's all the junk food on the supermarket shelf, the fact that our Australian standards don't protect us. We can't trust our star rating. We can't trust that manufacturers are not misleading us. And at the moment, it's a mess. So that's why I've created supermarket guides and whatnot to help parents know what to choose, because it's really tricky. And that's why I wanted to create this challenge, because, yeah, on Wednesday, we're going to be really diving into food additives. Now, let me just check the comments, whether they've got, yep, lots more. Beautiful. Okay, we'll keep going. So yes, today we are talking about gut health, and we will dive into that in a minute. But I just wanted to say that everything I talk about during the challenge is based on not only my own experience as a mum, but also my learnings over the last 25 years, not necessarily what I learned at uni, but what I've learned along the way, because things have changed. And what I used to say to parents, when I started out as a dietitian in a children's hospital, is so different now. To what I say now, I should say, because A, I've had children of my own, and B, things are different. So I think when you're a parent and you're in the thick of it, you really get it, and you speak very differently to other parents. I do remember at one time I was sitting in a consult with a parent, and they said to me, "Do you have kids?" And I was like, "No, but I've been to uni and I've studied this and blah blah blah, blah, but it's just not the same." So I do get that being a parent really adds a whole different layer of insight and perspective. And as I said, what I learned at uni didn't work, so I had to change my approach so that it actually helps change things, because just putting broccoli on the plate isn't necessarily going to get them to eat it. So I've created this whole new framework of understanding how children eat. It's called the feeding ecosystem. Go into a lot more detail in my fuss eating program, and I will talk a bit about it throughout this challenge. But that's why I've been able to help so many parents, because I think, well, I know that you've got to understand that backstory to then be able to work out, why a child might be fussy, or how to set up a proper feeding plan for your child. So it's great that you're here on the call, because if you don't try and change something, then nothing will ever change. So, if you just keep doing the same thing, then your children are going to keep eating the same way. So it's wonderful that you're here to try and make, a little change that will redirect them to a path of healthier eating over time. And what it's going to do is reduce our risk of inflammation, and reduce our risk of being an unhealthy adult, because we know our children's taste preferences are very much established in the early days, and they carry these taste preferences with them into adulthood. So not taking any action, so all the people that aren't necessarily focusing on the way their children eat, potentially, if their children are eating a lot of the white packet food, guzzling down lots of juice and drinks, then their children are more at risk of having health problems later on. So good on you for being here. And any small win that you get from this week is a win that you would not otherwise have had you not been in this challenge. So well done you, pat on the back, because knowing how to feed your child is the most effective way to get your child to eat better. I know that there's a real disconnect. You see all the time, eat the colors of the rainbow, and we're always told what our children should be eating, but no one tells us how to actually make it happen. And there's a real disconnect there. And that's where I come in, to try and join the dots between the what and actually getting them to eat, and actually giving you the how. So I'm going to move now. I'm actually going to pour myself a glass of water, and I'm going to move on to our topic, because I'm going to, as I said, try and stick to the half an hour so that you can all hit the couch. Having said that, I know it's a bit earlier if you're in WA. It's probably 5:15 over there, so you got a bit of extra time. But I wanted to talk tonight about gut health, because gut health is something that you will hear more and more about. I mean, look, I've always talked about it for 25 years, but and specializing in the area for so long, and going to conferences, 15 years ago on this topic, is not a surprise to me, but it's still a topic that many people are learning about, which is a good thing, because gut health is really the center of our systemic health. the gut instinct, that's not like just a saying. That's actually legitimately correct. We have, I think, share 40% of the same neurotransmitters in the gut and the brain, and they travel between the gut and the brain, even as we're sitting here. You're listening to me at the moment, but even as we're sitting here, your gut and your brain are communicating, and you don't even realize it. There's a super highway. It's called the vagus nerve, and it's communicating information with all the rest of our body, but directly to our brain, which then influences other pathways to the rest of our body. So the gut brain communication is hugely important, because at the end of the day, you want your gut and your child's gut to be sending positive messages, positive vibes to your brain, to the rest of your body. And that's why they say gut health significantly influences concentration, focus, learning, mood, behavior. It influences nutrient absorption. So how your gut microbiome is, so that's the millions and trillions of bacteria in your bowel, how that is will influence how the body absorbs nutrition. So children that are iron deficient or at risk of being iron deficient, or if there's a family history there, nutrient absorption is affected by the gut. And so if we can improve the gut, we can also improve nutrient absorption. When the gut is happy and healthy, you have a much more strong, robust immune system, as does your child. And so there's a significantly reduced risk of sickness or recurrent sickness and infection. I see so many kids that have had such a rough start to life, and they've had so many ear infections and tonsillitis, and then they've actually had to have antibiotics, and it's through no fault of the child or the parents, but they have been hit with lots of antibiotics, which has changed their gut microbiome. And then that does increase the risk of more sickness, because the gut microbiome is not in a happy, healthy place. And so then it's a bit of a vicious cycle. But if for whatever reason sickness or infection or antibiotics or other things have impacted the gut microbiome, the environment in the gut, the balance of the good bugs and the bad bugs, that will influence the risk of ongoing sickness and infection. It also impacts the risk of allergies, especially in our little ones. So when I do consults with parents of babies and we're talking about introducing solids, I'm often talking about making sure that we are setting our babies up to have a really strong, healthy gut microbiome where there's a good balance of the bacteria, so that they have a really strong, developing, robust immune system. Because really how the gut and the immune system develops over the first, you'll hear perhaps the first 1,000 days, it's about 3 years, it really can put a health stamp on the child for life. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't make significant changes and improvements to your children, especially if they're over the age of 3, which I'd say a lot are, but it just goes to show how much that developing immune system plays in really dictating our long-term health. It's incredible. And the more we learn, the more we'll know about, risk of disease. But already we know that gut microbiome pretty much links to every condition known, whether it's obesity or Crohn's disease or celiac disease or autoimmune disease or allergies. All of these conditions is linked back to the gut. Okay, just checking the comments and questions. So I just wanted to give you some stats, because really at the end of the day, gut health directly impacts everything. So how do we, sitting here tonight, help our children's gut health? And the number one way that you can help your child's gut health is to, sorry if that's, at the end of the day, fiber will feed the healthy microbes and keep everything in good balance. And that's so important, because if we don't feed our gut microbes fiber, the sexy name for it is prebiotics. You'll hear prebiotic this and prebiotic that, is just fiber. So if we don't feed the gut microbes fiber, they don't have any breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what they do is they start to turn on our own child's own gut mucosa and gets breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the gut lining. And that makes it patchy, leaky, you might hear, and that increases the risk of bacteria and viruses and bugs getting through into our system, and then we get sick. So fiber is a crucial part of the picture so that the microbes are happy, so that we have tight cell junctions in our intestine with a thick mucus layer. So basically it keeps all the baddies out. It keeps going through the bowel and then we just poo them out, or your child poos them out. I talk about poo all day long. So if I talk about poo a bit, please forgive me, but it's so important. And that's the real way that we're going to ensure that our children have a healthier immune system. So if there's nothing else that you've learnt tonight, or there's nothing else that you do learn tonight aside from that, that's a really important one that I want you to take home, is that fiber will directly impact the gut microbiome, and that will directly impact immunity. So if we look at some statistics, we know that 40%, and this is data, 40% of Australian children don't meet their daily fiber intake. And that was children aged 2 to 18 years in Australia. And that's pretty significant data. Only 6% met their vegetable intake, and that's ages 2 to 17 as well. We know that children who consume more than 4 serves of ultra-processed foods, and we'll talk more about additives and whatnot on Wednesday, but we know that children who consume more than 4 ultra-processed foods each day have a 25% lower microbe diversity, which means that there's not as many healthy bacteria, there's not as many healthy communities in the gut microbiome, which is important for a healthy gut microbiome. We know that children who eat more plant foods have significantly healthier gut bacteria. And also serotonin. So did you know serotonin is produced in the gut? So you might hear about serotonin, and that's like a key neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood and sleep and behavior. And the gut produces about 90% of the body's serotonin. So when we are in a state where, or when our child has a healthy gut microbiome, it's going to be producing more serotonin and everything's going to be in a much happier, calmer place. And that's, I think, also why there's a lot coming out. And I also see a lot of neurodivergent, NDIS or not, but whether it's ADHD or ASD, I see a lot, and usually with one-on-one, although we do have a number of mums will do one-on-ones and then they'll come into the membership for ongoing support. And we often talk about gut microbiome and also very intentional, specific strategies to improve gut microbiome of neurodivergent children, because there's a significant link there with gut and brain in neurodivergent children. And there's no surprises there, but there's more and more evidence coming out around gut microbiome and improve gut microbiome and reduce anxiety and depression, and it's very significant. So we know that children who have, and this again is proven, children who have poorer gut diversity, so poorer groups of microbes and bacteria in the gut, that they have more symptoms of anxiety and depression. And there's even been links between probiotics and improvements there. So children who have higher fiber diets generally have better emotional well-being and reduce risk of behavioral issues. So there's some pretty good stats there around what our children are or aren't eating, and the links between increasing fiber and not only better immune health, but also better emotional regulation, less anxiety, and potentially less depression and mental health issues. So fiber is hugely important. If you hadn't worked that out by now, that's what I'm saying. I'm championing fiber. And look, there's all types of different fiber, and I go into it a lot more detail, of course, in my programs, but to give you a 30,000-foot summary, there's insoluble fiber, there's soluble fiber, there's resistant starch, and then you'll also hear about probiotics and pre and probiotics. Really, at the end of the day, we just need to get our children eating more fiber in general, okay? So some of the fibers, so I see a lot of families who have children with constipation. Some of the fibers, like insoluble fibers, you don't want to load them up on too much insoluble fiber if they're constipated, if they're not having enough fluid, because then it just turns to cement. And by insoluble fiber, I mean more of the bran type foods, so wheat bix and brandy type foods. Sorry, I'm just making sure my dog's not going to, excuse me for 1 second. Every call, he seems to eat something that could be a risk to his life. But anyway, he's a puppy. He's 8 months old, so he's our little mascot. But I also have to every now and again to see what he's eating. So excuse me for turning around there. So yeah, in relation to constipated kids, we need to focus on the soluble fiber, and soluble fiber is things like fruits, vegetables, oats. Nuts and seeds have a combination. So a lot of foods will have a combination of soluble and insoluble fiber, but some foods are much higher in insoluble, or some are much higher in soluble. So we've got insoluble, soluble, and then resistant starch is things like green bananas. So those types of foods have also been shown, the resistant starch group has also been shown to have benefits from a gut microbiome perspective. I recently worked with a company who has a supplement, and it's a prebiotic, a probiotic, and a postbiotic. And the postbiotic is like the dead bacteria, but that's also showing some benefits. So there's this ever emerging research going on around the different types of fibers and pre and probiotics and gut health. But I want to keep it simple, and I just want to say we just need to focus on something that changes in your child's day to increase their fiber intake. Look, if you're sitting here and you're like, Karina, this is not why I'm here. My child definitely gets, enough fiber. They poo well, they're eating plenty of fiber. Then just, enjoy the information that you've learned about the gut and the brain and the immune system, and then wait for tomorrow. But if most of you are thinking, my child could probably eat a bit more fiber, then the goal for today, and all of you, I want to complete this task. And what I'll do is I'll pop up a tile in the Facebook group, and then you basically just show me your task. Underneath that, you can just take a photo of what you've done, and then that ticks the box for your day's challenge. So I want you to think about one way that you can increase fiber in your child's day, and it doesn't have to be big and overwhelming. That's the whole point of this challenge. I just want you to make one simple change, because one simple change done consistently adds up and will make a difference. And it's human behavior. If you want to make long-term change, you have to start really small. It's like me, I'm like, yep, I'm going to start doing more yoga or meditation. And then the weeks and the months roll by. And I was chatting to a friend on Saturday night. She was like, you just got to start small. And I'm like, that's exactly all right. With anything that I've ever, achieved, and same with parents, you just got to start small and then just build up from there. So tonight's task, and as I said, if you can do it, tonight, tomorrow, great, post it in the comments box. But if you don't do it till Thursday or Friday, that's okay too, but you need to do it, okay? And it's going to benefit your child anyway. So some ways that you could increase fiber in your child's day. Maybe it's as simple as going from white bread to wholemeal bread, or even one slice of each. If you can go to grainy bread, even better. It might be that you add like 2 blueberries next to their toast at their breakfast, on their breakfast plate, literally trying to increase the fiber from the fruit. Or maybe you grate some apple into their porridge, or maybe next to their scrambled eggs, you put like a wedge of apple. Or maybe if they like omelets, you put a bit of onion or spinach or something in there so they'll tolerate the green, or maybe give them a bit of red capsicum. But basically trying to add something colorful at breakfast time, maybe some chopped banana. If they have a smoothie, maybe it's putting half a teaspoon of ground flaxseed or a little bit of chia into a smoothie. Maybe if you're cooking spaghetti bolognese, you put some lentils into the minced sauce so that it increases the fiber there. Maybe you just put one tiny little bit of extra cucumber or an olive in their lunchbox so that you're adding a little bit of extra fiber. Or maybe you start giving them an afternoon tea platter and you start to add a little bit of extra fiber that way. Even adding popcorn, which is a whole grain, is another option. But trying to do, maybe you buy, rather than the plain corn thins, you buy the grainy corn thins. So just little tweaks that you go, you know what, I did that. They didn't mind. Great. It gives you confidence as a parent, because often that's a big thing that's lacking. I've been there and I see it in a lot of parents still. And once you can get a bit of confidence and momentum, get those little small wins, everything starts to become easier. So that's your task for today, or this evening, or in the coming days, is to one thing that's going to increase your child's fiber intake. Maybe it's that you give them oats instead of rice bubbles. You slightly change their breakfast cereals, or you significantly change. That's a significant change. Take a photo of it, post it in the group. Even if they don't eat it, it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter if they don't eat it. The fact is you've tried, and consistency will pay off. Maybe you go, you know what, I'm just going to go and buy Karina's recipe book. I'll pop the link in here, and you choose one of the recipes there, because pretty much all of those are high in fiber, and you try one of those, okay? So there's plenty of things that you can do to increase your child's fiber intake, but you only have to do one small change. Take a photo of it, pop it in the task, and then, yeah, you've done it. You've ticked the box. For those here, okay, let me just have a look. Right, sorry, I'm going to scroll back a little bit, because I want to make sure that I capture. Maybe I'll lift this up a bit. Here we go. Okay, so question was, and this is going to push me over half an hour, but that's okay. I'm happy to just answer some questions. I've always thought, as Mr. Four's soy allergy is linked to good gut health, that the resulting pains he gets in his body. I've always thought Mr. Four's soy allergy is linked to good gut health, and that the resulting pains he gets is body inflammation. Amanda, I'm not sure. So if he has a soy allergy, that will, so if you've got any allergy and you remove it, that will help reduce the inflammation in the gut. And that's a good thing. And then you can go through like a challenge protocol. So when I do one-on-one consultations, I will challenge at certain times in a soy ladder or a milk ladder or an egg ladder, whatever's appropriate. But yeah, the protein, if they're allergic, the protein will cause inflammation. So if there is inflammation, it's important to try and reduce the offending food that's causing the inflammation, so that the inflammation can go down, the gut can heal and become more robust, and then it will be better able to tolerate, something that's been reintroduced. So if you introduce soy later, then they'll better tolerate it later on, but not whilst the inflammation's going on. And this goes for a lot of the babies that I see that have milk and soy allergy. We've got to pull it all out, give them good gut rest, get them better, and then when they're older, we challenge. I hope that's been helpful. Alfie, Nova knows Alfie. What's the difference between pre and probiotics? So prebiotics, if you think about it, well, I'll go the other way. Probiotics are live organisms like the bacteria in your gut. Okay, so probiotics are just live bacteria that if you take them, you're topping up the bacteria in your gut. So probiotics are the live bacteria that, when taken, are supposed to benefit us. Not all of them pass through and survive the acidic nature of our stomach, which is why when I'm prescribing probiotics, I choose the ones that are going to actually make it to the large bowel and do what we want them to do. But that's what probiotics are. You take them, you try and top up the good bugs. Prebiotics is the food for the bugs, for the probiotics. So prebiotics is fiber. It's the sexy name for fiber. But great question. Is Metamucil okay for our children periodically? Yes, but I would probably, yeah. I mean, I don't use it in a lot of in children, to be honest. I'll often use Benny fiber, because Benny fiber is a soluble, clear fiber supplement that you can mix in and you don't even see it. So I would probably tend to go for Benny fiber, but Metamucil is just psyllium, so it's not unsafe. So yes, you could, or you could just go buy psyllium husks, or you could go like use ground flaxseed and things like that. They're all types, naturally types of fiber. So yes, if it was just psyllium, Jala, if that's how I say your name, then yes. But otherwise, Benny5 is also a good supplement for kids. Is Yakult a good probiotic drink for lunch boxes, or is this one not a healthy option? Megan, that's a great question. Look, I wouldn't use Yakult to top up your child's probiotics or to improve their gut microbiome. A, it's a sweet drink, and we're getting our kids used to sweet. And B, it's not in the concentration that you would need to improve like a dysbiosis, or when the gut is out of balance and there's more bad bugs than good bugs. So look, I mean, you can get the low sugar ones. And so I guess if it was a low sugar Yakult drink or a Tim Tam, then go for the Yakult. But I wouldn't necessarily use it to improve your child's immune system. You'd be much better off giving them like a high fiber oat, brandy, almond meal, nut cookie, or not nut, you can't put that in the school lunchbox, but fiber basically, rather than the Yakult. But great questions. Oh, the recipes are fabulous, worth every cent. Thanks, Nova. You cooked lots of them. My son is 6 and he doesn't like what I give. He was going to the cupboard and get something else, and I'm trying to reduce the alternatives available in the cupboard. But any tips on how to persist with changing dietary preferences? Alyssa, hold tight for this time tomorrow night, because we are deep diving into fuzzy eating. So I'm going to hold that one until tomorrow night. Alyssa, and what are the best probiotics and how long does it take to turn? Constipation, Alyssa, the evidence isn't as strong for constipation, but I will encourage you to head to, and I cannot off the top of my head remember what episode number it is, but go to the Easy Feed, my podcast, and I've got a really good logical step-by-step kind of plan of attack for constipation. So my podcast, the Easy Feed, find my constipation episode, that's the word, and listen to that. But I wouldn't use probiotics as a first line treatment for constipation for 95% of kids. And then see how you go with that strategy. And then I can do one-on-one consultations for constipation if it goes on long enough, because you don't want a child to have a worsening, long, ongoing constipation where they start to hold on. They don't want to do a poo at school. I actually had a consult with a parent the other day, and the child is 7 or 8, and they don't want to go to the toilet at school. And when they're at home, they still want to do it in a nappy, and it hurts, and it's gone too far, too long. Laxatives are a bit of a band-aid treatment, I should say. Well, they sort of are, but it's better to try and get to the bottom of what's going on. So take a look at the podcast episode and then reach out to me, and we can always do a consult if you need to, because it is good to try and get onto it sooner rather than later, so that we don't have long-lasting problems where you get stretching in the anal rectal period area, and you can lose sensitization back to the brain, and then they don't know if they need to do a poo, and it can affect appetite, and yeah, you don't want to be constipated for years and years. So it's important to try and have a good team to help you manage that for your child. Nova wrote, the Inner Health probiotic for kids are great. Yep, that's a good one. That is a great probiotic. That's one we often talk about in our member calls. We do talk about this a lot in our membership. We do. Pleasure, Alyssa. Great. Okay. Well, unless anything else pops up now, I am going to try and give you some of your evening for those that are in the eastern states, and it's now, coming up 8:40. So I am going to jump off, and I'm going to pop that tile in our group, and then tonight, tomorrow, when you get the chance, ideally, do it as soon as possible, because they will build up over the week, and pop your task in the comments of the tile, and then you've ticked the box. And it's also great because you can see what other people are doing, and you get ideas, and everyone's inspiring and motivating everyone, and that's the beauty of community and doing this. So I'll also pop the link up in the chat group, as I said, if you want to get my recipe book. And then if you do win one, then you can always gift it to someone else and pay it forward. And any other questions or issues, just email hello@nourishwithkarina.com and we'll get it sorted for you. So thank you for being here for day one or evening one of the 5 Days to Healthy Kids Challenge. This is the last one for the year, and I know it's going to be another great week. So thanks for being here. And for those watching this on the replay, thank you for watching the replay and being here as well, because I know some people just can't make it at this time, and it's totally understandable. So you can watch the replay and still be a part of it and still, catch up over the week. So I will wrap it up there. It is my pleasure. Thank you to everybody who is thanking me. It's so nice to be here and do it. And I love, I love doing this free challenge. So I'll wrap it up there and have a beautiful evening, everybody. And I will see you tomorrow night. Bye. See ya.